Hello and welcome to the How to Travel Vegan podcast. I'm your host, Tom Simak, and today we're interviewing Jimmy Halfcut. Welcome back, everyone, to today's episode. Super excited to dig into this amazing conversation with Jimmy. Jimmy runs a non-for-profit called Halfcut.org for the purpose of buying back rainforest and protecting the delicate ecosystem. I had read amazing things about Jimmy, listened to some amazing podcasts with him as well, and really just knew I had to get him on the show to talk about all things environmental. His passion for the planet absolutely shines through in this conversation, where we cover what it means to be environmentally friendly, how Halfcut works, and the process of buying back forestry, why this is an urgent issue, being carbon neutral, if COVID has been a good impact on the planet or not, and how to have a positive effect in your immediate community. Just before I dive into today's episode, one thing we didn't mention was how the donations work with Halfcut. $2.50 saves a square meter, and we'll talk about how that works and things like this. But Bank of Australia actually matches that dollar for dollar, and it is tax deductible. So for example, my partner and I donated $100. The Bank of Australia matches that, so that becomes $200, and that then saves 80 square meters of rainforest, which is honestly great, so good. Now, Halfcut is run by unpaid, passionate volunteers. So if you want to volunteer your time and if you don't have maybe the money available, hit Jimmy up on Facebook, Instagram, or even the website and they'll help out. I leave everything in the bio. Last but not least, this is the part I'm really excited about and kind of scared about a little bit. But if you're watching on video, you can see I'm starting to grow a beard. And by the time this episode's out, it's actually going to be half gone, just like Jimmy's. So I'm going to make a community-driven donation page, which I'll link in the bio, where it's going to be the How to Travel Vegan community actually donating and helping band together and save as many square meters as possible. So check that out as well. But let's get into the episode, and I hope you enjoy this absolutely thrilling conversation. Mr. Jimmy Halfcut, welcome to the podcast.
Tommy, my man, thanks for having me, fella.
That is okay. We were talking a bit before and we're flowing so well, so I'm sure we didn't record that earlier, but please, to start us off, give us a 1 minute on what you're currently doing with yourself.
Well, mate, I ask myself that every day sometimes because I've actually been Halfcut nearly coming up to 2 years, so I don't know if your viewers can see this.
Yeah, but, so anyone on YouTube, describe what your face looks like.
Well, look, it's I've got one side of my face, which is the left side, and so I have to apologise if you do hear that noise in the background. They're two rescue dogs having a ball all the time.
Go for it.
So Remy and Lockie, please, a bit of shushul. So one side of my face, mate, it's a beard, and that's to represent the last 50 remaining % of our forest left on the planet. The other side, I have completely clear felled it. It's completely shaven with a little bit of regrowth at the moment to represent that's the 50% we've destroyed. So really, it's a metaphor. It's a visual disruptor to get people to go, mate, what are you playing at? Have you lost a bet? And then I can go and going, well, we're losing a bit of a bet with Mother Nature at the moment, sadly. I think most people would agree with that. Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, mate, it starts a conversation about conservation, and most people are really genuinely quite shocked to learn that half the world's forests are gone. And yeah, we give a tangible solution to addressing that and try and get as many people Halfcut in a fun way, addressing something that's very, very important.
Bang on. And I want to dig a lot, but are you scared as a person to go out in public with half a beard?
Mate, to be honest, at first I weighed up all the risks and I mucked around and I tested it and I did it with a few mates. And honestly, mate, what it came down to is I think most human beings they're genuinely curious things, or we are, sorry. And they look at something and go, what the heck is that? And look, the number one, mate, was, did I lose a bet? That's been, if I got $2.50 for every time someone, did you lose a bet? We would have
save a lot of acres. Yeah.
Oh, heaps of acres, or heaps of square meters in the Daintree for 2020 campaign. But yeah, look, don't get me wrong. I was actually prepared to be have much more confrontation. If anything, from pubs, cafes, just going out, general life, mate. I don't know. I think, as I said, most people are curious and they want to know why. And once you tell them it's something that's good and for everyone and for wildlife, forests, climate, future generations, it's pretty hard to knock that. Like I'll get the occasional look at this bloke, hasn't he got it on? But it's like, oh mate, I'm doing it for conservation. It's like it just sort of it stops them in their tracks and gets that conversation,
isn't it?
Yeah, which funnily enough, it was never intended for that. I was just pissed off, man.
Yeah,
I've been pissed off for I don't know how long. But
how did you think of like just cutting half? How did that even come about?
Well, little bit of history to sort of me and my partner starting Halfcut. We were actually called Beards on for conservation. Spent 11 months in South America working on conservation projects and doing travel, predominantly in the Amazon basin in Bolivia. And look, mate, I think being there and just seeing like the illegal wildlife black markets, seeing the illegal logging and the animal agriculture and the cattle ranchers, it was just like, far out, this is bad. But then, met incredible conservationists, a lady called Rosemarie Ruzzi, who started Medidi Travel and had a serene reserve, which was 700,000 hectares that she bought privately.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that gave you hope, and we were there, and we were actually in like watchtowers to make sure illegal, and unfortunately, of course, it was traditional owners and indigenous Boliviano people coming onto the property and cutting down trees. It's because but at the same time,
their own people doing it to.
Because they're getting money from the West.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the problem. Like they're in a survival mechanism, and rather than sort of saying, "Hey, look, do it the right way, do ecotourism and get the gringo money, keep the wildlife, keep the forests, don't sell them off for like, $50 US for an incredible old growth tree." So look, that's sort of where it started. I grew a massive beard, and that's where we started this back in 2011, where people, had a big beard, and it was to represent the forests and try getting people to do that. And then we incorporated women and children and those less hairy or facial hairy with braiding. So we created beards on.
I was going to ask how women and children went with growing beards.
Yeah. Well, we had a few say, "Oh, look, I can grow the bush, push the bush, Tassie for Tassie." Yeah. So that was a bit of a laugh. And look, that was the thing. We just thought, how do we do this in a fun way? Because really, at the end of the day, it's not really that fun. Deforestation in general is horrendous. Most people know it's the elephant in the room, and they don't really want to talk about it. They know it's bad. They know what's going on. They feel pretty powerless. So that's then when, 2017, we'd been rolling on, planted 36,000 trees in Australia and supported many other not-for-profit organisations. We then learned in 2017 that half the world's forests are gone. I was just like, man, how much more do we have to do? How many more groups do we have to be being advocates for this and lobbying and community getting behind this? And we kind of thought, well, let's really wear the issue on our face. Let's go all out. So, man, I went Halfcut back in 2017 as a test. Some incredible other earthlings joined, came on board, and it was fun. We sort of hit the fun bass tone, which is what we needed it to be.
Absolutely. That's such an incredible story. And I know you've got a whole bunch of people included on this whole Halfcut journey, including some celebrities, and there's so much I want to dig into. But to start us off, what does it even mean in your own eyes to be environmentally friendly?
Look, I think as human beings, we aren't environmentally friendly, full stop. Our systems don't allow us to be. We've been so let down from governments to huge corporations who really rule our planet. And we don't have a circular system, in place, which we know should be in place and can work. So first and foremost, I don't think we really are environmentally friendly, myself included, to the extent of being a vegan, riding my push bike bloody anywhere and everywhere as possibly as I can. Investing my electricity bank and super with the most ethical companies. So, I mean, look, I guess for me, I feel what it means, how to be as environmental as possible or friendly is really just to keep on educating yourself and every day try and do something better. And, the next day is a new day, turn that page and try and do something better all over again. If it's, less consumerism, divesting, bank your super, your electricity, don't eat, reducing your meat intake to nothing, But at the same time, voting, like getting engaged with the political system, even though a lot of people are like, I don't want to know about that. It's like, well, you're being screwed by these bastards. So they're looking after the 1%. They're going to only look after themselves. They're going to look after yourselves and us and everyone else. But building on community, people power is really where my heart's at as well, and how we can make people feel more connected, and instead of being furious, being curious as to why we continue the 1% to get away with what they do.
Absolutely. And I think what you touched on, being politically aware, is something that I actually didn't know much about until my girlfriend was like, no, you have to know politics. And she pushed me to that. And the education, when you get there, it's like, I used to go in and just, Australian sex party, that sounds cool. Like that kind of mentality. And then you see people in line sometimes like, who do I even vote for? And the power of who you vote, because it's because everyone's got their own deep, every party's got its own douche and its own hero. How do you even start looking into what is good to support when there's so much bollocks out there, especially in the Australian system, but also the US and etc.?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we just got to look at we've had 40 years of the coal mining industries and the mining industry in general ruling our country. I mean, that speaks for itself. Like, I mean, look at the horrendousness with Rio Tinto destroying a 46,000 sacred site, and they knew about it 6 years before, and they weren't even sorry. We've got to remember who are these big corporations throwing a lot of money behind, and it's both sides, it's Liberal and Labor. They throw a lot of cash behind both parties. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, I think we're probably preaching to converted and the same like-minded people, within your podcast, and I think most of them would be head more towards Greens and true independence. But I think the thing is, it's like, in a way, we've almost got to make it engage people in a way where we need good people standing all the time, and we need people to want to be engaged with this. And I mean, that is only going to happen with people educating themselves and reading between the lines. Like, it's all very good and well to get frustrated and pissed off once the trees are cut down or a mining site's been approved, or theft the freaking water with the Murray-Darling Basin. I mean, the list just goes on,
Yeah.
Get engaged before that. Don't wait for the crap to happen. Hold these people accountable before they get that chance and that opportunity. And I mean, look, sure, like, we've got a deep history of entrenchment with, vested interest groups, if it's animal agriculture, if it's mining, if it's logging, and really the only way is for people to really, find an organisation that they feel doing it. And there's, there are so many organisations out there doing incredible work. Find something that sings true to you. And I guarantee you, a lot of the time, that a lot of these organisations are lobbying governments, but they don't have the huge millions of dollars like the Gene Reinhardts or the Clive Palmers and all the rest of it to be paying lobbyists to be in the ears of these politicians, if it's state or federal, usually both, or even at a council level. I mean, one thing I would say is for people to really, get engaged in your local council at the moment. Hugely powerful, hugely influential. They can make decisions really, really quick. And I mean, we were just chatting before, my other half in life, I'm actually a city coordinator for the Gate Alliance, supporting traditional owners, climate, water, and to keep coal and gas in the ground. And I just was successfully, with the lobbying and with the community engagement and the power and doing submissions, we're able to get 100% renewable energy for Canada Bay, the third council.
Your second round of claps.
Yeah, woo, go Canada Bay. But look, that's just one council of 7 other councils that have signed this pledge to support traditional owners opposed to fracking in the Northern Territory. Again, it's Rio Tinto disaster all over again. And I will say, if you're with Origin Energy, make a complaint and ditch the bastards. They haven't been given consent from traditional owners to engage in fracking, and it's just big corporations, as usual, doing what they do best, bullying behaviour. They claim they have their traditional owners. It's just disgusting to even say they have their own traditional owners. The majority of the traditional owners haven't given consent. So it's just something where it's like, these little bits all matter. One more complaint, it comes maybe 100 complaints. That's an avalanche for some of these corporations and people. They don't want to deal with that level of complaints and PR and all the rest of it. And, it's just chipping away. But, every time we chip away, we're making an impact.
And that's awesome, because that kind of rings true to like empowerment in the people. And when you touched on like going to like a council level, which is something anyone can do around the world, whether it's because there's municipalities everywhere, like can we really just ask for anything, like any kind of change, and just they
Look,
can lead you on?
You can put forward a motion of anything that you're passionate about, as long as you've got a councillor who's willing to put that on the agenda. So how it works, if you're fed up with seeing trees cut down your local area, and let's be honest, the trees have been decimated in New South Wales and Australia. Like half of Australia's forests are gone in under 240 years of invasion.
Yeah.
We've already reduced half of our flora and fauna in Australia. And we're the leading mass extinction, of all the countries on Earth. It's an embarrassment. Yeah. Well, instead of being the clean green destination for the planet, we are literally a quarry for Asia and just destroying all our resources. So going back to that council level, get in contact and find out who a councillor is that represents your ethics and values. They're just humans. Get on the phone to them and say, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. And you'll figure it out in 5 seconds, because, it's just that conversation really that starts, or go and meet them in person or whatever. But look, I'm a big advocacy for engaging in educating people on how to approach councils and councillors and the mayor. Hit me up. I'm more than happy to help you out there. But really, it's just a matter of you taking the lead, going out there, making a phone call, sending an email, letting them know that this is an issue to you right now. And, for all you know, your motion could very well be supported unanimously, or it could be debated and still supported, and you've made an impact. And, it's across the board from development to trees. I mean, it's just not all footpaths and swimming pools and libraries. As I said, we just got 100% renewables for another council. And hopefully this blueprint, I'm encouraging as many people to run a bloody mile with it and get their council doing it as well.
That's amazing. And you mentioned before, like organizations lobbying, a lot of things. And on the topic of organization, you do you do run halfcut.org. So there's a lot that I want to crack into with that. Can you give us a rundown of what that is?
Yeah, sure. So, mate, Halfcut, we wanted to empower people to, wear a protest on their face for the month of August, or the last weekend of August. So August 31st is when we all actually do it. What it is, it's a peer-to-peer fundraising model. The best way I like to describe it is think of Movember. Everyone knows Movember, but we're not just doing it for men's health and prostate cancer. We're doing it for everyone, and everyone can be involved. All ages, all sexes, all cultures, all demographics. People can take part in this. I mean, even if they can't donate, they can still be a walking, talking billboard to raise that awareness. 2019, we actually ended up saving 186,000 acres of Amazonian rainforest in Peru. That was with Rainforest Trust, who we partnered for that year, which ended up being 6 million acres protected. So look, we were just like a fraction of the overall project, but it all mattered.
Yeah, sure.
It was $500,000 raised that went towards the project, which was pretty damn incredible. We raised 250,000 of that, and it was matched dollar for dollar. And then obviously this year we've decided, after the horrendous drought, followed by the horrendous fires, followed by, COVID-19, we kind of felt we needed a bit of love here in Australia. And we've picked the Daintree, the world's oldest rainforest, Gondwana land. It's over 165 million to 185 million years old. Far north Queensland. It speaks for itself. Like, it is incredible.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the only two areas in the world where there's World Heritage Areas, where it's the Daintree National Park right next to the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. Really, they coexist. They should have been World Heritage Island together, because the Daintree gives nutrients to the Great Barrier Reef, and the Great Barrier Reef protects the Daintree. It's never had fire, fortunately. And even on top of that, something we're very, very proud about it's going to be a historic moment. We're actually helping with a consultation with the lowland Daintree traditional owners, the Gugu Yalanjinja people. We're helping them be back onto country permanently without having to leave the Daintree, which is what they're having to do at the moment. And it's going to be a ranger station, outlook station. So,
awesome.
Oh, mate, it's pumping. Really cool. It's pumping awesome. So we're so stoked about that. And look, it's at the end of the day, yes, they never ceded sovereignty, and we have listened to what they wanted. And look, this is only an 8.8 hectare property. But every $2.50 we're saving 1 square meter, and I'm pretty sure everyone can map out a 1 square meter. Every single one of those 1 square meters, you might be saving a tree or a gene pool of a fern, or that's 165 million years old. I mean, it is, it's priceless. It is absolutely priceless. So yeah.
How does that work? Like when I'm like, okay, I got half a coffee spare, I'm going to give my $2.50 to save a square meter. Do you like get a deed? This is going to sound, do you get like a deed to this part of the land? Do you just plant a tree and put a sign up saying you can't go here? Or how does that work?
Yeah. So how it works is obviously it's collectively, the property itself is $220,000. How it works, it's a collective buy-in. And what it is once we've purchased this property, it will be gifted to World Heritage Wet Tropics or Daintree National Parks. And then the Gugu Yalanjinja people, they will be managing that property long term. So the exciting thing about this is the Daintree Wet Tropics National Parks or Daintree National Parks, they're looking currently right now to have the whole Daintree to be managed by the traditional owners, which
Awesome.
this should have happened yesterday. So how it works is you're collectively part of something really incredible. And this will be our third property we've purchased this year.
Just
so
in
we've
Daintree.
already we've purchased lot 124. So that's been ticked off. That was $25,000 for 1 hectare. Lot 330, it was another $25,000. And then this is our major, because this is 8.8 hectare.
Yeah.
Fairly significant, incredible, like 230 different endemic species. Prime habitat for the threatened endangered southern cassowary. There's even crocs apparently on it. So, and then look, I think the other thing is it's individuals and people. Like the Daintree is not that hard to get to. If you haven't been there, highly recommend it. You can see what you've saved. You can plant trees with us in the world's oldest rainforest. We have our eco lodges up there in a nursery where any of our supporters who go Halfcut, any of our donors over a certain amount, you can come and stay there. You can stay there. You can hang out. You can be immersed in the world's oldest, rainforest and be like, hey, I'm making a difference. I am chipping away and helping save this. I'm getting a cultural experience with the Gugu Yalanjinja people. It's green jobs. We're actually employing people up in the Daintree from Cow Bay, Cape Tribulation, Daiwan. They're being employed with green jobs to help us plant these trees because, unfortunately, the government back in the 1980s, 1,100 lots, which is the equivalent of about 1,100 hectares of the Daintree was put up for development. So that's the risk in the Daintree, further development, further invasive species when people go in and do inappropriate development. And really where we're at is like, well, no, if we can buy this back and have the traditional owners manage it, well, we're working in the direction that they were doing for 64,000 years.
Yeah, okay. And when you were looking at like really, I guess, delicate ecosystems like the Daintree in other parts of the world, almost anyone can just go there, fly to Cairns, drive up, whatever. If you were just having a chat to someone like, yeah, I want to visit Daintree, what is something that this person can do to make sure that they can travel there, experience everything, and not have a negative carbon footprint on that? Like, is it absolutely do not bring any plastic? It's like, what are the things that they can do or have to make sure that they leave it just as beautiful as they found it?
Yeah, it's funny, mate. I'm actually going up there to have another meeting with the Gugu Yalanjinja people and to look at further properties that we're going to look at to be purchasing, which is really exciting. And I was looking to drive up in a Tesla. So The idea was to do a Tesla trip, but look, it's been tricky with the border crossing.
Yeah, right, with Queensland especially.
Yeah. So I put that one on the back burner, but I'm hanging in for that. But I guess the other way around it is, like, as I said, we're planting trees up there. I think the thing is that people have realised, just because you plant a tree doesn't mean you've offset your carbon. Like that tree, you need to think with that like long-term metaphor. Men and women plant trees so future generations can stand in their shade. Like you've got to think the long term. I mean, just planting a tree isn't going to absorb your carbon. But what we do is because of this is just one property, we really encourage people to think about their carbon footprint and make an added donation so we can either save more, we can keep more carbon stored in carbon sequential with rainforest buyback, or hey, we can get on with some real mass tree planting exercises, which we are actually doing up there. We've closed down a road, which was an access point, and we're replanting it out. So, these are things to sort of say, well, yeah, we're cutting down roads, we're buying back these lots. we're really making a huge effort to provide further habitat for wildlife, predominantly southern endangered cassowaries, tree bennets, kangaroo. But yeah, I mean, like as you rightly said, go up there with less plastics. Bring your reusable bottles. Try and bring less. And look, at the end of the day, our eco lodges as well. Like we've got organic food on there as well. We've also got a composting toilet, natural composting toilet. So, I mean, look, and this is the thing: we all have a carbon footprint. There's no denying it. It's about thinking beyond that and how you can address that further.
That's awesome. And when you're talking about Tesla, it actually totally reminded me of Greta Thunberg, who's going from like New York to Santiago, Chile in the Tesla. And she's like, Arnold Schwarzenegger lent it to us. I'm like, what? Freaking like, that is, yes.
we got to hang out with Arnie more often. Can you imagine if we got him half cut? I'll be
back. It'll grow back. Yeah.
That's we're going to try that.
Yeah, I mean, you never hurt to try. Arnold, if you're listening, which I know you are, come on board, mate.
Totally, mate. Well, look, that's another thing, man. Like, we're we're massive on, as I said, at the heart of it, we're a bunch of passionate earthlings, doing our bit. I was once furious, now I'm just curious after seeing the reactions and how people genuinely want to try and make a difference. Where we're at, mate, is we're looking for good people to invite other good people, and that's how we've met some of our incredible ambassadors. Just by saying, "Hey, look, this is what we're doing. Can you come on board?" And it's been the people, hasn't necessarily been us and our small core volunteer team. It's been just good people going, "Hey, man, hit this person up," or "I reckon I'd be up for it," or "I know this person, shoot them an email." And that's the magic. That's what's been so magic about this. Is just the individual link, the connection, the individual. It's like tree shyness. You know how you got that thing where trees, they just barely touch each other because they're giving each other that respect. But it's called tree shyness, right? Or,
I've never heard of that. That's cool.
Yeah, Google it. It's called tree shyness. So they're all getting enough, sunlight for photosynthesis and all the rest of it. But or even mycelium, with the tree roots below, all feeding each other a certain amount of nutrients. That's how we see ourselves. We're a bunch of trees. We're probably saplings now, or established. We're now looking for more people to want to be part of that tree community. And as we know, with further trees in any forest or any community, the stronger and the more healthy they are.
Yeah, bang on. And I wanted to touch on the actual state of deforestation, because you said 50%. Is gone, and who would you like? I don't want to play victim, but who would you say is responsible for the deforestation state at this stage?
Oh, mate, hands down, animal agriculture. Like, I think cowspiracy. I mean, like, I was going vegan back in 2011. And it was a bit of obviously a transition as well for me personally, and hands down, over 80% of the world's forests have been destroyed due to animal agriculture. So we are literally eating our planet to death just to put another, animal product in our body, which we know is not healthy for us, which we know is hugely stressed, the hormones, everything all vegans know. So I don't have to debate it. But
we kill them, they inherently kill us eventually. So.
Yeah, and look, our water cycles are just being absolutely obliterated, destroyed. I mean, it's not rocket science. Trees are our breathing lungs of precipitation. Once they are, being cut down, it's one less incredible free organic, mechanism giving us oxygen, giving us precipitation, absorbing our carbon. Apart from all the other incredible things we're all still developing and learning. Hands down, animal agriculture. Then obviously it's the usual mining, development. Roads is a big one. Roads and access are a huge problem because once the roads get in, usually put in through mining and logging, lead to huge levels of agricultural deforestation. And it's that's just what it is. That's the facts. The World Health Organization and United Nations Agricultural Community Organization. Don't quote me on that one, but it's United Nations.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's come to at the moment.
The IPCC and all those other ones. And this is going to sound super cynical, so you got to hear the end of the sentence. But What's really good about the 80% being from animal agriculture is that we're totally in charge of that, which is awesome because
Mm,
us as a consumer, we can make that decision as an
mm,
individual to not consume those products.
mm,
So it's like, if you're like, oh, the biggest thing is mining, to go to industry, it's like, oh, like I don't know any miners. I don't really know how to stop that. But we're like, you just got to make a choice 3 times a day on your plate. And
mm.
that's kind of like 80% of the way there. And then you start hitting the small little things like plastic and maybe push bike a bit more and things
Yeah,
like that.
totally. It's like, I mean, currently right now, even if we were renewables yesterday, which we should have been and could have been, we're getting there. It's just, you mentioned the IPCC before, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Man, we got freaking 9 years to deal with this shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna correct you.
and,
7.
well, there you
I
go.
was
If it's
just reading the IPCC before I got on,
and
and I
it's
was
now
like,
to 7.
"Oh, it's 7."
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, well, it was 11. Yeah, well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
and then this is the shocking thing. It's like that's 7 years where we can either just continue on a system as normal, and we've just seen
Mm.
COVID-19,
Yeah.
which is utterly linked to the climate
Do you
emergency.
reckon
Utterly linked.
COVID-19 is good for the environment? Like, just because we've
Well, yeah,
driven a
no,
lot less and started work from home, is it like a good
look,
thing in
yeah,
disguise, kind of? Besides
look,
the
sorry, mate, yeah, look, they showed that, yeah, air quality was good for about a month. But unfortunately, deforestation and the black trade markets for
never
animal
stopped.
wildlife went through the roof. It took
Mm.
off. It saw more because there was actually less people out there to monitor it. And this is the worry. It's not like, I mean, sure, we saw wildlife coming back into cities. I guess what it just shows is the dominance we have over this planet. I mean, we've got the noose around our own necks, and this is the crazy thing. I mean, as you rightfully said, if we just changed our behaviour and reduced, I mean, it's a luxury at the end of the day.
Mm.
In my eyes, like, you're choosing everything you put in your mouth as a choice. And for you to choose your taste buds over future generations, wildlife, forest, you're a selfish SOB. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to say, like, you're educated or you're not educated. I mean, this is the thing that gets me. Like, I talk with people all the time about this. And as you know, as all vegans know, we're still up against it. And it's just sort of like,
Crazy.
you know what? Why do my values about what I care about, and it's actually caring about you and your family and water and wildlife and forest, and as we know, the list
It's
will
my
go on.
agenda for you to be healthy. It's my
Yeah. Why and yet why are my thoughts and my opinions and about caring and compassion and not just about me, not as important about yours, which it seems to just be all about fucking you. It's all about your food or your next bit of entertainment or your next hit. It's just like, you know let's try and connect again rather than going at like two bulls. Let's try and find out why you like this, do it in a diplomatic process and an education process. And look, honestly, from my experience, I'm sure you've done it as well. These people you lock horns with, if you do it in a positive, calm manner and send them some stuff, they come around.
Yeah.
And in a way, they can't not come around because, as we were saying before, we're seeing the effects of COVID-19, which is just the warm up for the climate emergency. We know it is. It's all interlinked. Wildlife theft, deforestation, destruction. Higher levels of diseases and outbreaks of malaria are going to be kicking off. And it's all in regards to what we're doing to our planet. I mean, as we all know, imagine if you as an individual or a planet, didn't matter what we're doing, you'd be shaking, kicking, spluttering.
Seriously.
Get off me.
Get off me. And I want to bring some facts to life, I guess, about what we're saying, because we're not just talking woo woo. As a global economy, we emit roughly 40 gigatons of CO2, and the carbon budget, which is, well, you might be able to explain it better than me, but essentially we've got this carbon budget of 300 gigatons left before it's 2 degrees up, and it's just they think it's irreversible. So that's what
Yeah.
gives us 7.5 years ago. And to give you concept, I believe 7.5 years ago, 7 years ago, Gangnam Style came out. So that's, if you remember to when that came out in London Olympics, that's how long there is until it's irreversible. So that's why, I guess, amazing for you, because there is urgency. It's not like, oh, maybe it should be good if we're nice to the planet and nice to ourselves and nice to etc. It's like, well, you kind of have to be, otherwise, then we won't be able to see the next Gangnam Style, which everyone's itching to see, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, look, right now, without sounding too pessimistic and gloomy, and that's sort of the two halves of me. I've got the one
Have some
side which is
balance.
really
Have a balance.
optimistic.
Yeah.
The other side is a bit pessimistic. Community, love, passion, everything, business as usual, business as usual. And look, that's the worry. I mean, right now, instead of looking at this, right now, even when I was down at the climate emergency summit down in Melbourne, we literally, they're saying in the next 10 years, we have to reduce our carbon emissions by 10% each year if we're going to get below 1.5 and even then potentially 2 degrees. We really need to treat right now like what we have with COVID, and this is what everyone is saying as well. We listen to the scientists and we take immediate global action when it's a COVID-19 crisis, which is affecting our economy, which it did. But imagine when it is an irreversible climate catastrophe where it's ongoing droughts, ongoing fires, ongoing floods, ongoing sea levels rising. How's an economy going to bounce or survive with that? And that's the predictions for all of that is just utter catastrophe. So the way to look at it is we need to treat the climate emergency and reducing our emissions like we have the COVID-19, listening to the scientists, fully getting behind it and treating it as a war. I hate that word, but the war word that they all use.
And just like COVID-19, go for it, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, and right now, in saying that clean green gas is our future, it is absolute BS. It is a lie. It is dangerous. There's no such thing as clean green gas, which is...
What is green gas for those who...
So that's the term they use, green, clean gas. There's no such thing as a gas as being clean. It's actually just, if anything, it's 120 times more potent than coal, and sure, it doesn't stay in the atmosphere for as long.
So it's just greenwashing, really.
It's huge greenwashing, and what it is it's coal seam gas or fracking. So you've got two sides of it, fracking or unconventional fracking. So fracking is where they use huge amounts of chemicals and water, and they fracture the coal seams underneath the ground, and then that releases the gas, and they never capture all that gas, so it's huge flares that are 3 meters in the air. It's every second it's pumping and operating. It's 88 kilos of salt waste. It's just it's fracked up. It's fucking crazy. And then the other side is it's conventional gas extraction, where it's the same process, but they just claim they don't use the chemicals. But bearing in mind,
so we're better than these guys, which makes us right. Okay, I know what you're saying.
But the thing is, it's just lunacy because it's actually then punching down in some instances through our aquifers. Our aquifers, the Great Artesian Basin, the world's largest basin on the planet, and we want to stuff around with this. We're talking about hundreds of millions of years old, and we're thinking, oh yeah, we'll just ram a pipe through that and we'll make sure that won't contaminate it or won't cause any issues. The reports that have been shown in the US from this devastating industry have been, proven time and time and time again. They're our last reserve banks. Once our aquifers are gone and dried up or polluted, really, we're the second driest continent on the planet apart from Antarctica. What the flip are we doing where we could be solar panel, wind turbine, hydro, you name it. But here we are again, everyone's just bowing down or, towing the line with the big invested coal and gas industries. So yeah, we got to change that narrative and bloody quick because, as you said, 7 years.
I want to talk about renewables for a second. I dug into a hole for a little bit, I think last year, when I was like, what is actually the best solution? How much does this cost? What is the economic impact of wind turbine? And I came across this big TED talk, and it could be really biased or whatever, but it was about nuclear energy, which I had never really known. You hear about that, what was that big nuclear plant that exploded? Oh my God, I've forgotten. Fukushima. And you hear like how catastrophic that was. And this is why a lot of people are like, no, nuclear kills people. But then I hear stats like it's 96% more potent than wind, hydro, or solar. And it's smaller. So it takes up less space, but it takes energy to use. It's more cheaper to make than solar. Everything's recyclable besides these barrels. That's the waste product, these tiny barrels that they store. And they're like one nuclear plant could provide energy for like 10 years. And then you've got like solar panels, which is like the biggest argument I see is like they're not recyclable. They like burn birds, and then you've got, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump's freaking wind speech that he had. Was just have you seen that?
Oh, well, we had Joe Hockey here as well. It's a blight on the landscape, the treasurer during the Abbott era. But
yeah,
it's like, no, mate, you're a blight on the landscape. Have a look at yourself.
But how do you think about like nuclear and then renewables?
Look, I'm not an expert on renewables, and I don't ever claim to be. But what I will say is, look, sure, I've read and I've watched Bill Gates' documentary on how he actually nearly made the US go on this transition to nuclear, and hence why he stood down from Microsoft as well to focus on the climate emergency. And look, interesting to see the model that he had there to sort of say, well, the scale and the time and the energy, we do need to, at that stage, he was fully investing in nuclear and actually recycling uranium. So, obviously, as you mentioned before,
okay.
Yeah, well, within their models, they claimed they could, and Trump got in, and then it was the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal and the attack on China, and everything went to shit. So nearly 15 years of development with Bill Gates, it all just collapsed. So, look, the things that I have read and I do understand is sometimes the cost ratio is huge, and it has to be done on scale. So if they were to do it, it wouldn't just be one; it'd have to be like 150 of these nuclear power plants. But then again, where is that? We're talking about, even here in Australia, it's like, well, we're still on stolen land, always will be. Do traditional owners necessarily want that? Where will it be built? You could just imagine the kick up. Whereas in the flip side to that, the safer alternative, I think, is still solar and renewables and hydro. Yes, there is that issue with the recycling and the 10-year life and all the rest of it. And you really hope that we keep having more innovation and technology pumped into this to achieve that, rather than seeing, Australian tax dollars giving royalties to the coal and gas industry still. And this is where it is just so absurd. The money that could be going and invested, rightfully so, into these particular jobs and technology. We're still just towing the line of fossil fuels and fossil fuel dinosaurs. So look, that's sort of my pitch on it. And look, as you well know, like, the reality is we should have been renewables yesterday. And even if we were renewables yesterday, the level of the amount of animals on the planet for human consumption would still be pumping over that 1.52 degrees global temperature increase. So I kind of feel right now, if put your money where your mouth's at, or put your fork where your mouth's at, and at least really go for that, veganism approach first and foremost. And, look, I don't know about you, mate, but, I'm renting. I haven't got my own place, so I can't, unfortunately, put solar, although I'm with Innova Community Energy. And I will make a plug out there with Innova, they're New South Wales. Everyone who switches over, and if you put promo code Halfcut50, they help us save 20 square metres in the Daintree rainforest. So, look, these are the things we try to do. We try to say, hey, switch your energy, go with the 100% supporting renewables, 50% of their profits going back to communities. That's
I'm just going to note that down so I can put that in the show notes. How do you Emoca?
Enova, sorry, ENOVA, Innova Community.
Halfcut 50.
Yeah, promo code.
All right, perfect. I'll just put that in the show notes. Anyone who's actually wanting to, especially if you're with Origin, to switch complain and then switch.
Boom.
And when you said you go up, you mentioned before, when you go up to the Daintree, you can plant a tree and all that stuff. When you plant a tree, out of curiosity, how long does that take to have a carbon offset? Does that start sequestering the carbon in the atmosphere, or how does that work? Do you know?
Yeah, look, it's the beautiful thing about rainforest trees is they grow really quick. So the pioneers shoot up really quickly. In less than 3 years, you might have a 3-meter canopy.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's really, really impressive stuff. So they're already there. There's carbon sequential. Already there's habitat. Already there's we're reclaiming habitat back for wildlife. The actual figures on that carbon sequential, I don't know, but I think it's a bloody good question. I want to get onto that and find out, because I know one of the team members will know. But look, the reality is it's allowing people to know that they are making a difference. We have a huge tree survival rate. We have a traditional man, Adrian Golly, aka Golly, the pirate of the Daintree, calls himself. Absolute
Good
fantastic
nickname.
earthling.
Absolutely. I'm guessing
Yeah,
the nickname comes from the fact that it has one eye, surely.
well, he just loves pirates and he loves
Oh, okay.
treasure. But he
Oh,
has
okay, cool.
huge dreads and he wears a pirate hat up there and he's planted
Cute.
nearly 250,000 trees.
Oh, wow. That's a
Um,
freaking nice thing to put in your resume.
yeah, totally. So he manages the trees. So if there is one doesn't, so that's on the nursery. He does it from propagate from seedling to a sapling to planting. So as I said, I'm going up there in July to plant trees. If anyone wants to join, it might not be too late potentially, but we're really big on people getting up there and helping Golly plant the trees. And if any do die, very low percentage, he replaces them so that no weeds get in. So that's the whole idea: creating that canopy, keep the grass from growing, and really giving those trees the best chance of survival.
And that all sounds great. When you have, say, purchased all these hectares and acres of land, and you've then planted heaps of trees, we've gone from 50% forest to 60% forest now. So we've increased by 10%. What are we expecting to see, like, in the environment? Are you just expecting to see more species, more ecosystems, more animals returning? What do we see, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I think you basically said it all there. I mean, the reality is, with these places we've regenerated, we've seen these wildlife come back. We've been able to capture it. At the end of the day, we've got to remember we've taken so much of their habitat. It's more food for them. It's more spaces for the incredible, the cassowaries, which are called the queen tree planters of the Daintree. That everywhere they walk, they poo, and it propagates up a naturally system of how propagation in trees used to happen. So it's incredible stuff like that. And look, you just brought me back to thinking about all the acres and everything we've saved as well, like as collectively. I mean, every acre that we protect, it's storing 181 metric tons of carbon. And that's the equivalent of taking 39 motor vehicle cars off a year. That's where we get to the metrics of it. And even the water, like each acre saved, it's 76,000 litres of water more we're getting. So, it's things like that where you kind of go, okay, well, look, this really does. And that's just 1 acre. That's 1 football field. So, and especially when we're saving, a square metre, 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. I think the thing, that we're trying to really represent is saying, look, yeah, it is just 1 square metre, but this tree that's on it, it's been here genetically for over 165 million years. This isn't something you can just freaking go and find at Bunnings.
Yeah.
Which Bunnings, sorry, Bunnings, you're horrendous with your propagation, and they only select from Melbourne. Anyway, I won't go into that. But this is the reality: you don't find that genetic pool ever again, and you will find an incredible tree on a 1 by 1 square meter. Let alone the the microorganisms below that and around it and everything else. It's an incredible buzzing food chain of life. So. So that's one thing where we try to make it as tangible as someone to say $2.50 you can save a square metre. I mean, imagine if every Aussie chucked in $2.50.
Oh, mate, I don't know the maths on that, but that's like
40 million. Well,
yeah.
52 million, sorry. How many is even in Australia now?
20 million,
23?
22 million, I don't know. Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah, well, anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just that stuff like that to sort of go.
And that could save every rainforest in Australia? Like...
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, we were hoping to support the Tarkine this year, but with the Bob Brown Foundation, but the problem with the Tarkine is that's more lobbying focused as well. Second largest temperate rainforest on the planet, again being destroyed for tree plantation for timber. It's gone to Wana as well. It's just mental. Like, and this is the thing: we've gotten to the point where it's like we cannot afford to lose any more trees. It's half's gone. Come on, we need to get to that. We've got that now, right? Now it's that call to action to say, come on, really, you can turn around and hopefully we're all saying we did it, or enough of us created enough of a percentage to take action. But look, mate, I guess we're just calling on people to be brave. We're calling on people to sign up. Create a profile, go Halfcut. I can see you got a bit of an ecosystem as there, well, mate, growing. So it's any ecosystem, it's any beard, it's any hair, it's any look. And that's why we've got the braiding, the colouring, the dyeing. It's just we're calling on people to be brave. have fun with it, create a team, get your mates going half cut. Or if you can't
I've got a photo to show you. I went half cut a little bit. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, get out. Cool, man.
I used to have an afro kind of thing for those on YouTube. I did go half cut for a day or two before I knew what half cut was. I'm like, I would have kept it. Totally.
Yeah, cool, man. Anyone well, hey, look, where we're at is sort of like, we're nearly halfway through winter. Not really get a bit close. We're a month down. It's like, get hairy, get growing, or, think about how you're going to braid your hair or if you will cut your hair. And yeah, look, that's all it's about. Engaging people in a fun way. Getting them to ask why you've done that to your hair, why you've done it to your beard. Sorry, not your beard, your beard.
Yeah.
And
obviously prepare yourself with a few facts as well, please. Because I don't know, there's rainforest gone half? And then like, what?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, look, on that note as well, it's actually, there's less than 3% of rainforest left on the planet.
On the planet? Since when? Like since day dot? Yeah,
well, the planet once had 17% rainforests. We're now down to less than 3%. So it's really tropical rainforests especially have been decimated. It'd be pretty sad just to have like a little strip to represent that. So that's why we did forest, because it's just not rainforest. Like rainforests are hugely important for obviously precipitation and carbon sequential, and nearly 85% of all biodiversity starts in rainforests. They are our hotspots of biodiversity and wildlife. But the reality is, it's less than 3%. So which is why we need that action right now.
And then you mentioned before, like organizations do a lot of lobbying. Does Halfcut do lobbying with politicians as well?
Look, not really. No, we try to just steer clear of that at the moment, because we just want to make this campaign as open and palatable to everyone as possible. Mm-hmm. We want people to go, hey, look, that's fun. That's cool. I mean, look, I mentioned before November, they've raised $1 billion in 17 years for human health. $1 billion.
A lot of money.
So imagine if we could raise $1 billion, or even not even. I mean, the problem is, as we know, cancer's sexy. Whereas we save the rainforest. That's where we're going to fight. We've utilized 1% of all the medicines that come from rainforest. 1% for human benevolent health. So what we destroy in the forest, we're technically destroying as a potential cure for cancer, dementia, cardiovascular disease, mental health, whatever. It's crazy, right? So. But if we could make a fraction of that, and at the same time, it shouldn't be about money. Like it shouldn't be about that. But this is the world we live in. If it means that we've got to buy it back in perpetuity and protect it, and have a gift.
The mighty dollar speaks, huh?
It's shocking, and it shouldn't be that way. But here we are. But if we can help educate communities, people, that's sort of and have traditional owners back on the land with native titles, and
which is super important.
It's the winner. That's the goal. Yeah.
And through like the fires that happened in Australia, because I know the 1920 fires officially ended, I think like last month. Like they went on for like 10 or 11 months. Like it was stupid. And when I was looking into it, that it actually let go of 306 million tons of CO2 just from that fire season. So it was like 2,600 houses or buildings and stuff. Crazy like figures. So that's a lot of trees. And then we've got that compared with animal ag in Australia. I think it releases like 90 million tons of CO2. So it's all crazy figures. How many trees like have to be planted to like counter that? Like it's just a stupid million trees.
I mean, that's right. Like, it's mind-boggling, mate. There's no other word. And to think on top of that, every day we're losing a football field and a half, every second, 185,000 acres. Fortunately, half of that is forestry, or plantation, but half of that is old growth. So when you weigh it all up and you put all those calculations together and what you said, we aren't just a bit behind. We are miles behind with what we need to do and what we need to achieve. It's.
I'm gonna follow that up right now while you've just said that. How can we, knowing that, stay positive and optimistic?
Well, look, I think that's the thing, mate. I think, what else do you do? What else? You can either crawl away.
Give me half. What else do you do?
What else do you do? Well, thank the planet for alcohol. I'll say that much. No, look, honestly, I think it's look. I think we're at a time right now where we'll turn back and say, why didn't we do more? The last thing I would hate for people to do is if it is 7 years and it's the tipping point, well, why aren't we just giving it our all? Because I tell you what, if people weren't a fan of COVID-19, it's just a freaking warm up. And, why do we always have to make it such a human aspect? We saw what happened with the incredible wildlife and the voices that showed what happened if we gave it a chance.
Yeah.
And I mean, wasn't that just a beautiful time to a signal really to say, cool. Hey, yeah, I mean, just to sort of say, it was almost like them saying, you guys can get this right. Mother Nature's giving you a bit of a taste of what's to come. Can you do it? And look, I think that's the incredible thing about Mother Nature. All she's ever done is given to us. Gives. And all we do is take, destroy, pollute, recycle. It's just, I don't know. Like I guess going back to what you're saying, I think I'm at the point where I've just got to take the piss out of the situation and hope that people want to come on board and look beyond themselves and kind of go, how can I be better? How can I be kinder to everyone and animals and our nature, kinder to ourselves? Because bloody hell, I don't know how you feel, but I feel people are getting more and more shut down. And let's try and bring back a community of goodness again, and stop putting profits before the planet. Let's put the planet first for a change, if that's even possible. But yeah, it's we just keep at it, mate. That's, I guess, keep at it.
Bang on. And you said before, like, keep, I guess, pushing ourselves to get to a better place as well. What can we as an individual do? Like, say we're already like plant-based. We're either all plant-based or getting to that 100% fully sustainable in terms of our plate. What else can we do to help the cause? We could give $2.50. What else can we do?
Go and volunteer. If you haven't volunteered yet, I'm sure most people have. It's skills. It's other great people you meet. It's being part of a community. Go to a council meeting and get a feel for how it is, and be unsure and frustrated and not really understanding. I think they're things that definitely I would highly encourage, within your community, because you'll find other like-minded people who care just as much, if not more than as much as you do. And then, you kind of feel you have it is strength in numbers as well. And look, I would suggest that, just because I've seen the power of it and just the incredible earthlings that I've been able to meet and learn from and engage with, of all ages, cultures, sexes, the whole, and that's what's been just incredible. Get behind and find out who your local traditional owners are, or what your local mob was, or what country you're on, and find out, and educate yourself before approaching, and find out, and let them know what you would like to support them with, but build a relationship. It takes time. This is just reflecting on my own experiences and training. Find out really what country you're on, and find out, just on that level.
Why is it important to know what country you're on?
Well, because I think we need to know that it's been stolen. It is stolen land. It's never, traditional owners have never ceded sovereignty. It's been stolen land, thriving civilization of over 65,000 years. And what they went through and what they still go through to this day. And I think, the whole Black Lives Matter historic moment, people, sorry, that's my naughty rescue dog barking. He's like, stop talking, that's all you do.
Is it a greyhound?
No, he's
there he is.
There he is. He's actually a rescue dog from fair dinkum, shocking pit bull fighting.
Oh, so no.
He's a Staffy cross.
In Australia?
Oh, look, mate, people, you wouldn't have them as pets, but animals any day. Yeah, unfortunately, it really is. So this is Lock Chocks, already walking. So I think it was going back to what I was saying is, knowing what land you're on and what country, and speaking about that with family and friends, and making people aware that, we are on stolen country, and brave enough to have these communications and to call out racism. not just to let it just go by. Rather than calling someone out personally, you can, rather than calling out, you can pull them aside and go, oh, look, man, was that really necessary? You think a bit deeper about that. I think that's where we start to see a society changing and people caring and being more open to, just what their thinking is or that their thought bubble. I mean, it's like we really got to branch out a bit, I feel. So, knowing what country you're on. So I should have even said, sorry, I'm on the Eora Nation, so the Gadigal land. So I should have said that before we started
So
paying
are
respect.
you actually in connection and in talks with like the original owners of the land, and you just develop a relationship with them and you're like, hey, if there's anything I can do to support you guys, is that how you run that relationship?
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of the time it's finding out what's current to them and what's going on. So I've been fortunate. I've been in a position where I've been working with traditional owners, just for example, with the block. So I've with the development down in Redfern, I've been in constant work through my line of work with traditional owners in Northern Territory, but also in the Eora Nation here in Gadigal land. Sometimes it's just finding out what they currently need support with, or if they're saying that might not even want support or need support, but it's just that understanding of like, yep, look, we're here, we understand the 240 years of real distress, genocide, the list goes on. And
what kind of support can we offer them?
Well, I mean, you can offer your skills and in certain assets that you have. You can listen to what they actually might want support with. And as I said, they might not want support with something, but it is also enough to turn up and be at an event and a rally like the Black Lives Matter, and further beyond that. But if it's monetary value to donate to some of these incredible causes, if it's again just even make with council meetings or any form of engagement, if it's a party you're having, making that welcome to making that paying your respects to being on country and all the rest of it. This is then as a society we start to change and we start to be more open-minded and engaged, rather than just mate, having a barbecue and come over and a few beers and slack that bit of slab of meat on, and these are just little things that I feel we should be at least trying to do if we are educated. And if you're educated and you get it, then we should be doing that.
Perfect. So with all that said, coming to the end of the episode, what can we do to help you guys at Halfcut, and where can we find you if we want more information?
Cool, man. Well, I want people to help themselves, and I want them to start their own rainforest square meter counter. So they can do that by going to halfcut.org. You can sign up. If you don't feel you can do the Halfcut thing, totally cool. Make a donation. As I said, $2.50 saves 1 square meter of Gondwana land rainforest. If you're a business, come on board as one of our Halfcut alliances. If you want to make your business go carbon neutral or help with carbon sequential first, then carbon neutral, carbon negative, that's our Halfcut alliances. And lastly, we've got our divestment campaign that is kicking off middle of July all the way through to September, which is our triple switch for Earth, which, we're encouraging you to put your money where your mouth's at and invest in what we believe are the most ethical bank, super, and electricity providers kicking about. So that's our 3 things.
That's our best way. Perfect. And then you guys are on social as well?
Yeah, man. So look, if you want to have a yarn to me, I'm just Jimmy Halfcut, always up for a chat. And then there's halfcut.org.
Perfect. And I'll put all the links in the bio so people just know where to find you guys. I wanted to sign off in a really cute way. I really liked your email signature. So my sign off for you today is half the world's rainforest has been destroyed. Help us protect what's left by going Halfcut in August. Thank you so much for jumping on, Jimmy. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, and I will definitely speak to you in the near future.
Tom, thanks, mate, and hopefully we look forward to getting you Halfcut soon as well, brother.
Let's do it. Welcome to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening all the way through, and thank you once again to Jimmy for being on and sparing some time to talk about some really, really important issues Like I said, everything will be linked in the show notes with links to go to support the How to Travel Vegan community donation group. Let's see how many square meters we can save. We're already up to 40 because I donated $50 with my partner just to their website, and then we're going to start it off with a $50 donation, which is 40 square meters when matched dollar per dollar. Let's get to at least 200 square meters. That's the goal, which is absolutely achievable. Again, you'll find Jimmy on Instagram at Jimmy Halfcut, and of course Halfcut.org as well on Instagram. If you want to see the half beard in work, please head over to Instagram at How to Travel Vegan. Also, our TikTok is at How to Travel Vegan. Everyone's got one of those these days. If you are on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the good things. And if you are listening, it would mean a lot to share this episode. We touched on a lot of really important topics that I think is a really good way to educate the masses. So if you think you would have someone in your life that could benefit from this environmental conversation, whether you think that they need to understand that animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation, or if someone's really passionate about the Daintree or even Australian fauna, us Australians are super passionate about our land, send them this episode. They can really benefit to find out what they can do in their community, in their direct association with friends and family, or even the bigger picture, and how they can help Australia once again regenerate and make sure that we keep the oldest rainforest in the world alive and thriving. But that is all for me today. Until next time, much love. Peace.